Hi, I'm Jacquie Jordan. It is Sunday, it's the May 10th, and it's Mother's Day. And that's a powerful day for a lot of reasons. And I am here with my friend Rick Jewers, who is still in Egypt. And you will see the interview that we did that happened in February. And so much has changed there. And I just want to qualify that I first started following Rick on online on Facebook somewhere around December of 2018. And I did that because when I get my own massive psychic timeline impressions, there aren't many people who also can validate or contextualize, or language what I'm experiencing. And so to find fellows out in the world that, speak the language, see the structures, see the timelines, and have the conversation, I'm forever appreciative. So thank you so much, Rick, for chatting with me today. How are you?
I am great. Thank you so much, Jackie. I wish to say much appreciation and importance for all of the mothers that are out there. So many blessings for you on this day as well. And so thank you, yes, so much, Jackie, as well, for this interview and also our previous one. And I anticipate we'll be having more in the future.
I look forward to it. Yeah, I did want to qualify because when we got into our conversation in Barcelona, we kind of jumped right in with our own knowingness, but I hadn't qualified that, to the extent that, I've been following your body of work, and it really resonates with my own internal expression of things that, we don't necessarily always get the outside validation on. But since we met, a lot has changed. Well, how would you summarize the last, 3 months, almost 3 months to the date, almost?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, to summarize in the world, of course, the corona, what is ongoing, but to speak the full truth, the corona is actually a guise for what is happening on a planetary scale. And with that, there is much corruption that is being cleaned up. And in reality, it's a whole new reality is what's occurring under the guise of the corona. And again, we are in the times of the great planetary cleanup, the Ascension. And, through, we can even say a couple thousand years, there was what you call the dark rule. And it's very real, and incrementally, bit by bit, it's being released into the mainstream media that the ones that were labeled conspiracy theorists are actually the ones that had the truth, that have it, and it's being released more and more. So in the last few months, much is being done behind the scenes, the whole financial system, but all of the systems, the legal systems, government systems, everything is transitioning so very quickly behind the scenes. Now, it's a transitory thing. However, it's happening very rapidly. And let's just say that governments and humanity that is not awakening, they have no control over this. This is being administered from a higher divine means. And everything is going forward with this from Creator and from all of the divine ones that are part of this, including you and I. And it is imminent. Nothing stops it. It is factual. And bit by bit, but more so each day, and perhaps exponentially, the truth is being released to the public that we're living under the lie. So these last 3 months, if you will, since we spoke, and since the corona gig began, there has been much transformation going on behind the scenes with the systems and bringing the power back to the people.
It's so funny because the way it showed up for me is like a leviathan. I woke up to a dream and I just saw a leviathan with all of its tentacles into rooted into different systems, kind of like almost like fighting for its life with the last breath over the last several months. It's kind of how it showed up for me. It's big, like Leviathan. And I think when I looked up the definition, aside from it being a sea creature, it was also the sons of Belial. Like it's a reference out of the Bible, which seems, pretty significant for it. But you had also talked about the money system changing, and you had said that there would be like money being given out, which at the time when you had said it, it seemed like it was going to be impossible. What are your thoughts on that now?
Well, as we're seeing, no, it is real, and we're seeing it being delivered, at these times with basic incomes. But because of the corona, yeah, there's free money being delivered to everyone at this time. But this is only the beginnings, again, of what is really coming in the lines of basic income, Jacera, Nasera, what the light communities have spoken about for years, and it is the reality, and it is here now. And just lately, what the IMF has done on the forgiveness of debt to at least 111 countries, a few weeks ago, this is a great confirmation of the transition of the financial system as we knew it, but it's a liberation as well. So the beginnings of the liberation and delivering to each soul upon the planet at least a basic income for now. The beginnings of that process is that the debt for countries had to be erased. And this was prophesied by the light communities, how it would go. And now here we see it has come to fruition. And that is out there publicly. But there are so many steps with this that are out there publicly. And again, it's no denying it nor refuting it by anyone. If they wish to do a bit of research, they will see the confirmations are out there in many forms.
We talk about one of my things is like paying obviously attention to language. I'm a communicator, so paying attention to language for me is really big. And the word conspiracy person or somebody who's a conspiracy theorist or whatever is definitely a trigger word. I mean, it's immediately, when it's that label slapped down, it's immediately discrediting the information and mischaracterizing the person. How have you had to face that over holding the information that you share?
Well, there was no restraints. Nothing restricts I, and I keep putting it out. And of course, you can see what I would call minions or puppets when they attempt to try to discredit a truther, if you will, one speaking the truth. These are the terms and the tactics and the labels they will use, being a conspiracy theorist. But what I love, a few years ago is that we also have us truthers that are keeping a track what was considered conspiracy, and what was labeled that over the years. And just a few years ago, there was a lengthy list of what governments or what have you had called conspiracy. And now we see it's all fact. So the tables have flipped on that. And what is being revealed is actually a huge conspiracy that was concocted by the conspirators, the dark ones themselves. So what they have done is they have tied their own arms up and wrapped themselves within a box that continuously implodes. So there is no redemption for them in this reality in regards to that. Nothing, every time they try to speak to justify themselves, they actually put another foot in their mouth. So everything has been revealed in that respect, and of course much further.
I completely agree. I know, just in my own professional work history, as a very young puppy, as a producer on a national talk show, back in the VHS tape day, I wanted to produce a show about unidentified flying objects, and I put a call out, and I received like thousands of VHS tapes. So this was in the early 90s, from people all around the country who were not connected. We didn't have an internet, who sent me their VHS tapes of shooting in the sky different unidentified flying objects, different, spaceships. And I had all of this incredible data, and I was very allowed to do very little with it because it was considered conspiracy. But I just remember then just being sitting there with all of this firsthand experience of people who just wanted to get their information out. And of course, as we know, in the last couple of weeks, the Pentagon finally validated that there are, I don't know if they use the word unidentified flying objects, but they finally released the US Navy footage saying that they have a very clever word, speaking of language, but they didn't call it unidentified flying object. I think they might have called it like flying apparatus or something like that. But they finally have validated, and it's taken just that entire length of time. And we are in the the vision 2020 vision time period is what we're definitely in this year. And so it is full disclosure. I see all of the there is so much light, there is so much people carrying light, that the things that used to remain hidden. And to add what you just said, Rick, which I really appreciate, is that it's kind of like, because things are coming to light so fast, that there's this kind of a jumbling of energy around it, because the veil of secrecy isn't the same way it used to be. It won't allow the same structures to hold. So there's kind of this really clumsy juggling of deception trying to happen, which if you don't see it, it just looks like it reads as confusion. But the way I see it is just the jumbling, like they can't hold the secrets in place in the same way. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, exactly. And nothing can be concealed anymore. We are also in the times of transparency. And I'll go a step further with humanity as a whole. Humanity is set up to be at a certain place in conjunction with all of the other life forms in the multiverses in the universe. And it's being divinely assured as well to bring humanity up to date. And what actually occurred goes way back to the time of Tesla, when the information was beginning to be released to advance humanity then to such a level. When I was first awakened to who I am, when I first realized that I was no longer human, that I was actually a divine one placed here upon the surface with a very significant role, I may say. What occurred is, at that time, I was told that humanity and Earth was 123 years, linear years, behind where it was supposed to be, in conjunction with, let's say, first contacts and what have you with other life forms and races. And the 123 years, if you go to look, will take you back in the times of Tesla. And that is where things began, let's say, by the darkness to be concealed. There was technology that does work, and it did work, and it was there, but it was used by, let's say, what you call the cabal or the darkness. It was very real, this contingent upon the surface, and they kept it suppressed from humanity. To jump forward in about 2011 linear time is when universal law in all of the multiverses, whatever way you wish to look at it, was broken to such a degree that it did allow for all of us to be awakened here. But for us as divine beings, there is no time. So we knew this time would come, and we were planetary in these physical vessels, prepared for this time to have it written and acted out in linear time, so it's recorded going forward for humanity and other human experiences. So, having said this, there was no way out for the dark rule that for the last couple thousand years had quite a steadfast grip upon everything that was going on. Marginally, divinely, things were implemented. And every time it was um, every time with that, when it was released into this reality, what occurred, it was concealed or stolen. And again, we had reached such a point where so many universal laws were broken that it allowed for direct divine intervention. What we have done is we've cut all of those tentacles off, and the Leviathan represented the dark control, so no longer has it. So this is what has occurred. Everything is being revealed with it. Let's say there's minions of the darkness still here, uh, and through their desperation, they make futile attempts to throw wrenches into the gears wherever they can. But as a last ditch effort, these are the things that, yeah, they try to do. However, in these instances, let's just say the ground crew, us here, are not alone, and we have many in the skies and and also the heavenly realms, and it's very true, and nothing stops us, and this is imminent what's occurring. So out of fear and desperation, it's all that the minions of darkness have left to do. Their fate is sealed. There is no redemption for them. Many heads surrendered prior to 2015 linear time. The ones that did not surrender constantly looked for a way out of their demise and did not want to believe it. All were given a choice, and the ones that chose to remain what they are, well, again, that is their destiny.
Yes, so well said. Yes, the trolls as they come through. Uh,
Yeah.
have you had to deal with trolls recently? Have it like is that have you had to shake them off?
What I do, the trolls, I use them as examples in my teachings because at this point they have become so blatant what their agenda is, and they do appear out of nowhere. So I love using them as examples and also teaching others how to uh, fully and quickly discredit and reveal any troll, and to identify, that they actually have an ill intent agenda at instilling fear and negativity and what have you. But at this point, all trolls are totally harmless to any of the light, and
Yeah, it's like
ones that,
fleas, flies, fleas, mosquitoes. It's that kind of.
yeah, thank you. The mosquitoes are a good description. Yeah.
So can we talk about also embodying the light at this time? And you were speaking about what um, your call towards action and how your purpose here, and how we're embodying so much light frequency at this time.
Yeah, we're constantly upgrading. So during this ascension, the physical vessels that we have are being upgraded, and they're being upgraded, let's say, essentially by what is known as photonic light, which comes from the sun, of course. So it's quite an extensive process, and it's been over a duration for most since 2012, where it began to be more prevalent in the daily lives of the light ones. So this process is still ongoing. It's a transformational process to prepare the physical vessels for multi-dimensional travel. The way the organic vessels were, they vibrate at a certain frequency that does not allow these organic vessels to exist in other dimensions. So with this overall ascension, these vessels are being upgraded, you can say superhuman because it's beyond human, to go into the other dimensions, the other frequencies, but to also be able to sustain your existence there as an organic into, for example, um, what you may call to interact with aliens or what have you that are on a higher frequency, so a higher vibration. So in order to do that, these physical vessels are being divinely turned into a more efficient crystalline base. So with human bodies and old biology and chemistry as well, if you look at the biochemical aspects and of course metaphysics, and this is where you begin to understand what's going on with the cells being changed into a crystalline form as well. And it's within the crystals where the frequency can be changed, and it's a higher frequency. So for example, within the blood of each, that's where it begins during the transformation. The blood will actually have a plasma within the plasma of the blood, a crystalline component that becomes activated. And from there, with interaction with the blood going through the body, it's a steady transformation in your cells. Every cell in your body in the past took 7 years to
Recycle,
complete,
regenerate, renew. Yeah.
but now it's only 3 years or less because we advance. So,
And so it's, yeah, so we're experiencing activated DNA, which is of course what the vaccination agenda is about. And you know, here in LA, when we did a partial lockdown opening this past weekend, they were spraying the skies again. We've had like beautiful blue skies, but you know, as people were going to be migrating outside, we had you know, chemtrails again. So yeah, it's all the attempts to keep that from happening.
well, indeed, yeah. You know, aluminum and the sulfates are also toxic to the human vessels, and it's toxic to the degree that it will suppress the advancement, because aluminum will act as a dampening field against the photonic light to allow the vessel, the human organic vessel, to transition more quickly. So these sort of things are done, and you can also look at, for the masses, when they keep spraying aluminum and sulfates and of course chlorine in the drinking water, these are all agents to keep humanity suppressed and pardon the term, but mean and dumbed down to the degree that they don't awaken. However, it's all been assured that everyone does, and any of their attempts with this are futile.
Yeah, it's an incredible time that we're experiencing. I almost feel like the timelines are almost running like parallel with the ascension, with the AI attempt. Like they're running parallel, but it's like there's a beat behind. It's like that their cadence is off, and it keeps moving forward. That's what it feels like timeline wise. It's like it's almost like there's a cloning happening in the secondary timeline, but it's out of sync. So it's not going to catch up or to be able to do what it's intended to do. But that's what it looks like to me.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, we have dips. There's more than one timeline, as you're saying,
Course,
going
yeah.
on, and we dip down and we see these things occurring. But the reason we dip down again is to assist this lower timeline with ascending further. Every time we go down, we change something here or we assist someone to higher levels. So for us, we are in a duality in the least, meaning that we are experiencing at least two timelines in our existence and in our ascension here, and sometimes even more than that.
In the way for myself, I've always I would put myself as an experiencer and a transmuter. So I do a lot of I go up and down, like I go up, I get it, and I go down, I transmute, I experience, I pull it back up. There's a lot of internal processes for me and a lot of internal systems constantly going. So I genuinely appreciate these conversations and even that you put your body of work out there.
It's been quite an extensive, tedious process for some, because you were saying, like, initially when one begins to awaken, you descend actually before you awaken down to what is a rock bottom, where,
dark night of
let's say,
yeah,
where you surrender, you just give up, and that's when the good things begin to happen. But breaking the human consciousness, it takes that dive, that descension, where you surrender, and then you begin working. As you go up, you begin working on the inner self, and transmuting the deepest fears and negative emotions to the positive. And this is what you call the mastery. So
and
you
wisdom. I mean, that's where the wisdom comes from, the juiciness of wisdom that nobody can take away from you, because you know it, because you've experienced it. Like you've pivoted, you've done it inside yourself.
So there's this huge inner work, what we call it, this process of doing that and mastering all the aspects of the fear spectrum. Like, it goes from simply from be able to being irritated, to the deepest anger. So you have a wide array on that fear spectrum. And for some, they have gone into, let's say, perhaps 100 of different fears within their self to master at this time, one by one, because it's essential that you do that to transition anything on the fear spectrum to raise up. And once you do that, you become enlightened and empowered. But once you reach this level, also, after you have done all of your inner work and, let's say, balanced yourself, and you're still here, what begins then? Then you begin to transmute for what we will say the collective, but you're also transmuting for the timeline. Yeah. So let's say if you dealt with jealousy and it comes back in at a time, it's not yours. You've already got over that. So then that from the collective, you're transmuting some of that negative energy from the collective.
Yeah, there's a lot of us polarity integrators out there.
Yeah.
It's definitely some interesting experience. Can you share what you think is going to happen now till the end of the year? What are we looking at in the next 6 months in this already wild year?
Well, let me say, huge transition is already underway. And what I received from, let's say, Father about a week ago is that, in this lockdown or what have you, that this could go on for a couple months yet. And during this time, as we said, everything is being transitioned within the complete society of the planet. So all governments, all societies, everything is being very swiftly changed behind the scenes. So we are in the most unprecedented, exciting times on the other side of this corona. So you're asking about 6 months' time? Yeah, totally different world by then and much more advanced. So it's also possible within this time, and I'm actually receiving a confirmation that we could have some of the first landings occurring also within this 6 months. I do know what I'm given over the next year and a half or so, that many of us are to remain on the surface to administrate and steer the timelines. And again, everything is changing the way that people knew it. There are no longer going to be governments, nor the stringent rules that were placed on society. This is all with laws and what have you. It's already unraveled, but we're just going through the process of integrating it more within the public.
Yeah.
So it's a very huge transitory time, 6 months. Yeah, very excited. Everyone at this time that is awakened and knows what is actually happening, they're very ecstatic and joyous. But at the same time, as you just mentioned, there's many activations going on within the physical vessels being prepared to higher degrees. Many of the divine feminine experiencing different variations of the body vibrating, electrical shocks, the heat, what have you. And I'm here to say that this is not your PMS. It's not. It's Ascension symptoms. And for all the divine feminine as well as the masculine, you are becoming something much more than what you ever could thought was possible as a human.
Yeah, that's extraordinary. Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that we will reclaim is understanding actually how powerful we are as humans in our body vessels, which we've not been given credit for, and even in the way the illness came out, it was such a discredit for our body's ability to heal in the way that it's capable of, given the right support for that. So.
Oh, well, totally. The truth, without needing pharmaceuticals and what have you, this truth has been out there, and it is prevalent now for anyone wishing to research that, yes, you don't need medications. You have the full ability and capacity to heal these physical vessels. One of the main things is with your diet and the pH level that takes you above sickness.
Yeah.
So there are many ways. I've been smoking some cigarettes, so I have a cough.
It's so funny. I have to tell you this. I can tell you're going to reach out to me because I smell cigarettes. So whenever we're going to be in touch, I get a whiff of I'm like, oh, that's Rick's cigarettes. That's Rick's cigarettes. And then I hear from you, because your cigarettes have a distinct smell to them, and I'm like, I'm going to hear from Rick.
Thank you. Yeah, you are so correct, and others have said this as well. And yeah, we have our little what do they call them? For whatever reasons tonight, my terms again that I use are they're just blanked out. But yeah, these are little signs.
Little premonitions.
Yeah, premonitions. Yeah.
I'm getting a Rick Jewer scent right now from Luxor, Egypt, to the City Angels. Thank you so much, Rick, for chatting with me. I look forward to connecting again soon this way, and we'll do another update, because I look forward to seeing what transpires in the next round or next leg of our journey. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you, and have a beautiful day, evening, wherever you may be.
Thank you, Rick. Take care. Bye.